nearly 42,000 people that came forward for testing yesterday. It was, again, an unbelievably high number. We're deeply grateful that people not only are listening to the restrictions in place, not only adhering to the advice we're providing, but they're also coming out in droves to get tested, and that's exactly what we need during the course of the next few days and the next few weeks. Overnight, we had 8 cases of local community transmission. 7 are directly linked to the Avalon cluster. The 8th case is the one that was referred to yesterday, which was a direct contact of that person who worked in transporting people to hotel quarantine. So 7 directly linked to the Avalon cluster, and the 8th case is the one that was already mentioned yesterday, which Dr. Chand had provided details for. Over the next few days, there will be modest changes to restrictions over the Christmas period. We appreciate what a difficult time this is for everybody across the state. In particular, our thoughts are with those who are already in isolation, because as we know, when you're in isolation, you can't have contact with anybody for 14 days, depending on when you started that isolation. So our thoughts are with those people who will be in isolation over the Christmas period. In relation to regional New South Wales, there will be no changes. In relation to Greater Sydney, there will be no changes but for one tweak, and that is on the 24th, the 25th and the 26th. You can have, of course, 10 people into your home, but you'll be able to have, in addition to that, children under 12. So on the 24th, the 25th and the 26th, if you're in Greater Sydney, you'll be able to have 10 people in your home, which is what you currently can have, but you can add kids under 12 onto that. So 10 adults and kids under 12 would be allowed in any single household. But can I stress, you cannot have different groups of 10 people during the day. It's one group of 10, and you have to stick to that one group of 10, plus kids under 12. So please make sure that it's only one group you have to your house in Greater Sydney. You can't mix groups. You can't have different rosters on. You can't say to half the extended family come in the morning and the other half come in the evening. Not possible. On any given day, you have to have the same group of 10 plus kids, and that's the difference. Now, after that period, on the 27th of December, for Greater Sydney, we revert back to just 10, including children, right? So the 24, 25, 26 allows kids under 12 on top of that number. But come the 27th of December for Greater Sydney, we all go back to just 10 per household, full stop. So every other restriction remains in place, but for that addition over the Christmas period. In relation to the Northern Beaches, both the science and the health advice tells us that there are 2 distinct parts of the Northern Beaches, and we will be separating those areas geographically. So clearly the concentration of cases, the epicentre of the cluster is in the northern part of the Northern Beaches. So there will be now a new boundary at the Narrabeen Bridge, which is a locals, as Minister Hazzard would know, is an obvious location for locals. And the western boundary will be near the Baha Temple at Monavar Road, which again to locals is a very distinguishable boundary. Now, if you are a resident of the northern part of the Northern Beaches, if you are a resident that lives north of the Narrabeen Bridge and east of the Baha Temple at Monavar Road, you cannot leave your area. You are still in lockdown. You can't accept anybody from outside your community, and I apologise for that, but we have to maintain a lockdown in that area with one exception. On the 24th, the 25th and 26th, you're allowed to have 5 people into your home, but they must be people from within that region. So if you live in Avalon, you can have 5 people into your home, but they must be residents north of the Narrabeen Bridge and east of the Baha Temple at Monavar Road. So for the people of the northern part of the Northern Beaches, you cannot, unfortunately, move outside of your community, outside of that boundary. You cannot accept anybody from outside that boundary into your boundary, but you can accept 5 people from within that community. So if you know you have a neighbour who's all their relatives live outside of that area, please consider being a good neighbour and perhaps spending that time with them. And then back on the 27th of December, we revert back to the current lockdown provisions where you can't, unfortunately, visit each other's homes. So for the next 3 days, you'll be able to visit homes up to 5 people at a time in that precinct, but they have to be people from that same region. We can't have anybody mingling with other parts of the Northern Beaches or, in fact, other parts of Greater Sydney. Now, for the southern part of the Northern Beaches, so for people who might live in Manly or Wakehurst or Dee Why, on the 24th, 25th and 26th, you will be able to have 10 people into your home. However, you can't leave the area. You can have other people come in from the region or from other parts of Greater Sydney, but you yourself can't leave. We don't want people from the northern beaches mingling in other parts of Sydney at this stage, but you can welcome people in. Again, you can have up to 10 people into your home on the 24th, 25th and 26th, but you can also include children you can add children under 12 onto that number. And after that period of time, we will advise residents what the situation is in the southern part of the northern beaches. So we will be letting people know on Boxing Day what the 27th of December looks like for the southern part of the northern beaches. But essentially, you have the same lockdown conditions in the southern part of the northern beaches, with the exception that you can have 10 people into your home. Part of those 10 people can be from outside the northern beaches area. However, you cannot leave yourself, so you're still subject to essentially those 4 reasons why you can leave home. So whatever exists now for you is the same, but for people coming into your home, potentially from outside the area. Now, this is all based on health advice and the data we have. And the issue that we have, which concerns health, with Dr. Chant will talk about, is the fact that we still don't know how the virus got into the Avalon cluster. We don't know how the virus got into the community, and we want to make sure that there aren't strains or there aren't lines of community transmission that we haven't found yet. So can I please stress that for all of Greater Sydney, for all of the northern part of the northern beaches, we will revert back to existing conditions on the 27th of December, but the jury is out for the southern part of the northern beaches. For the precinct that's not that contentious or that Avalon cluster, that concentration, the jury's out as to what happens on the 27th of December. But for the rest of us, we go back to what we have today. So I just want to make that position clear. Can I also stress that health's job is easiest when the Service New South Wales app is used. It's been apparent to us that whilst we've allowed businesses to use alternative apps, alternative QR codes, I should say, it's proving to be too frustrating for our contact tracers. Health has done an unbelievable job getting us to where we are. We've seen in other jurisdictions when there were 30 cases or more what the outcome was. To date, we haven't seen that trend in New South Wales. We've actually seen the reversal, and our health team has just been outstanding. We need to make their job easier. We've given businesses so much time to comply and to make sure the QR codes are in place, but we remain unsatisfied with the level of compliance for people who aren't using the Service New South Wales QR code. So by January 1, we want all hairdressers, all hospitality venues to be using the Service New South Wales app and the Service New South Wales QR system.